Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan, and as you may have noticed, I'm not posting on my regular day. This video is coming at you early. And that is because I just hit 10,000 subscribers, which is amazing, so thank you. And basically what I'm going to be doing over the next 5 days is I'm going to be posting a review every single day because you guys seem to really like my reviews, but instead of my normal reviews, which are usually 20 plus minutes, these reviews are going to be a little bit shorter, around the 10-minute mark. And they're going to be focused on books that I either have read and didn't have enough to say to fill like a 20-minute video, or books that I read before I started my YouTube channel but were really popular. And I'm also going to be doing 2 movies, so 3 books, 2 movies. And yeah, and so I did a Twitter poll. I got a couple books and a movie from that, which I will be reviewing. So to kick this whole thing off, as you've probably noticed, I am reviewing A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now, this is probably one of my most requested reviews ever, besides the Six of Crows duology. I read A Darker Shade of Magic in January, right before I read Zenith, so you're probably wondering why I didn't review it, and that is because I liked the book, but I didn't love it. So as you may have noticed on my channel, I do a lot of book and movie reviews, but pretty much all of them that I've put up, I've felt very strongly about, either really disliking the book or movie or really loving it. And that's because most of the reviews that I post, I really want them to be driven by passion, and I really want to have a lot of things to say in order to really make the review as in-depth as I possibly can. So that's why I tend to focus on things that I feel really strongly about. Now, this book, while I did really enjoy it and I do have things to say about it and I'm excited to talk about it, I didn't feel the same kind of passion that I felt with a lot of the other books that I was reading at that time. So that's why I didn't review it, but we're gonna get to all of the things that I have wanted to say today in a shorter review, and I think that this is going to be the perfect format to talk about this book. So let's just dive right into this. As usual, I'm going to be doing a super short non-spoiler section, and then I'm going to go kind of more in depth in a spoiler section afterwards. So this is a fantasy book set in this really fascinating world that has several parallel universes, all kind of centered around and focusing on London. Now there are 4 different Londons. There's White London, Red London, Black London, and Grey London. And all of these different Londons have varying degrees of magic, with Grey London being the most similar to our world, potentially in the late 1800s. It doesn't have a lot of magic, but it has a few believers. The book follows Kel, who is a magical being known as an Antari, and he is one of only 2 Antaris left in the entire worlds. And Antaris are the only beings that can travel through the different parallel Londons. He is from Red London, which has a lot of magic and seems almost utopian. He serves as an ambassador for the King and Queen of Red London, and is also their adoptive son. Not only that, but he has a dark secret. Not only is he ambassador of the crown, but he is also a smuggler of artifacts from the different Londons, which is extremely illegal because he brings basically artifacts from the different Londons to each other and trades them and does all the things that you're not supposed to do, which ends up getting him into some trouble later on. Lila, who is our other protagonist, is an ambitious cutpurse who wants to be a pirate and live a life of adventure, which of course she finds in Kel once they do meet. Okay, so I'd like to start out by saying that I am gobsmacked by this world. The world building in this book is honestly unparalleled in YA fantasy. I have never come across a book quite like this, where there is so many complicated elements and aspects and so much uniqueness going on that is communicated so thoroughly and in a way that is very interesting and smooth. And yeah, concise. Like, all of the world building elements are given to you in manageable bite sizes and honestly just masterfully crafted. By the end of this book, I really have an understanding of the atmospheres in all of the 3 Londons that are explored in this novel, as well as some of the geography of the Londons, definitely some of the politics of the Londons, as well as a very clear understanding of the magic system in this novel. This could have so easily been overwhelming or dull for the readers, but Schwab is able to communicate all of this in a way that is, again, something that I haven't seen in YA fantasy before. It is unparalleled. It's beautifully, beautifully executed. If there are any aspiring authors watching this, especially for genre fiction, like sci-fi, fantasy, anything like that, that really want to get a better understanding of how to world build, read this book and take notes. So the world is definitely my favorite part of this novel, and the other aspects of it I felt were a bit weaker. This, I think, is why I liked it but didn't love it. So we're pretty much gonna get into the spoiler section, but before we do, for all you non-spoiler folk, what you need to know is the plot was good. It didn't blow me away as far as uniqueness. I think definitely the first half of it was more interesting to me. I thought that it was really interesting the way the author was able to world build through the plot and the way that it was set up. And I think that there was a lot of elements that surprised me, especially in the first half of the novel. I thought the second half was a little bit more generic. I didn't think it was bad at all. I just think it was a little bit more expected, and what I thought would happen happened, which again, it's not the end of the world. I did think that there were elements that surprised me, but overall, the plot was just like, it was good. Wasn't anything truly exceptional, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. The more important thing though for me was that I had a really hard time connecting with the characters, and I am going to go into that more in the spoiler section, but I just had a really difficult time connecting to both of the protagonists, but to Lila especially. I didn't think they were bad characters. In fact, I think there are tons of people who would really like them. Just me personally, I didn't really feel that emotionally invested in them or attached to them. But again, you know, I think that there are a lot of people that would, and I thought that they were pretty well developed characters. They just weren't for me. Alrighty, so because this is a short review today, we're just going to move right on into the spoiler section, and I'm going to kick it off with the plot again. So as I mentioned, I think that the plot was good, but it didn't really blow me away. I think the pacing could have been handled better to create a larger sense of suspense. Basically what happens is Kell smuggles a destructive, corruptive magic from Black London via White London into Red and Grey London. And basically the effects of that are absolutely disastrous. A lot of people die. There is basically a spread of a magical kind of plague that is truly horrific. But the thing is, there is a very small cast of characters in this book. There's not a lot of people that we get introduced to, let alone care about. So it struggles for me with the same thing that Marvel movies do by and large, where there's like a big bad threat, but because it's not actually people that we care about that are being affected by this for the most part, it's just kind of like the masses, it becomes a lot less personal, and the stakes are a lot less high for me. And that may make me sound like a jerk, but that's just kind of how story works. If it's just like the masses that are being threatened instead of characters that we actually care about and know, it's going to be a lot less effective. So of the people that we do know and care about, though they are few and far between, we have Lila's friend slash kind of guardian, Baron, who is the owner of a tavern in Grey London. I really liked his character. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to get more into that in the character section of this, but I really enjoyed him. We also have two guards in Red London that we kind of get to know a little bit. I did think that their part was a little bit weak. And then we have Rye, who is Kell's adoptive brother, who we kind of get to know, but again, not that much in depth. Though he is more developed than a lot of the other kind of characters that we get introduced to. We have Kell's adoptive parents, who we barely know at all, the king and queen, and that's pretty much it for the characters that we're supposed to like. There's a couple other characters that they meet along the way as far as kind of like villains, but obviously we're not supposed to really care about them, and if they die, that's kind of a good thing. So I think that the issue is that both Kell and Lila are very isolated characters. They're both kind of loners. They're dealing with a lot, and they like to deal with those things personally and in their own way, kind of alone, and they really isolate themselves because of that, which makes their like friend group and the characters that they interact with very small. It's a very small cast of characters. Well, again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it worked super well in this novel. I would have liked to spend a little bit more time building up these characters so that there are more stakes when things kind of get bad. So yeah, as I touched on, about halfway through, I kind of got a sense of what the plot was going to be. I thought that in the first half there was a lot of unexpected moments because I wasn't really sure how this world was going to kind of unfold, and I thought that the plot and the world were very intertwined, which I thought was really interesting. There were a lot of elements of moving through these worlds and navigating that, which I found really fascinating, and I am a huge lover of world building. I love to be in these worlds and get to know these worlds, especially in fantasy and sci-fi, so I was a really big fan of that. And then in the second half it got a little bit more generic. The plot kind of unfolded as I expected it to, but again, I wasn't too bothered by that. I thought that in the climax there was a lot of good action scenes, there was some good character moments, there were a few surprising moments, and I thought that it progressed very naturally and was paced out very well. Okay, so as I said, I think the characters are what I struggled with most in this novel, because I didn't think that they were bad characters. I thought that they were characterized fairly well. I just personally did not connect with them all that much. I definitely connected with Kel more than Lila, and I think that Kel had a lot of really interesting things going on as far as his personal and internal struggles, but again, I don't know, for some reason I just couldn't get as invested into him as I wanted to. Basically, Kel is struggling with not feeling like he is a true member of the royal family. He feels like they're using him as an ambassador, that they've acquired him, not really adopted him, and he's definitely struggling with that, like not feeling like he fits in. To see his interactions with his family, I think is really fascinating. I also like that I think it ties in with the whole smuggling issue, and I think we can kind of see that he's taking that out via his smuggling tendencies. As far as Lila, I felt like she was a little bit more tropey in that I feel like I've seen kind of her character before. She's the kind of tomboyish thief girl in a fantasy or period world, so she dresses like a guy, she knows when to run, she's had a tough past. Like, I feel like she's kind of like the protagonist in the Mistborn series. But that being said, I did feel like she had some depth. I don't think she was super tropey. I think that she did have elements that were her own. I just personally didn't really love her dialogue. I couldn't really connect with her all that much. I did think some of her kind of character things were a little bit annoying. I didn't find it that bad. I just wasn't the biggest fan. Again, all of that being said though, I think that there are a lot of people that are really like these characters and really get invested into them because there is depth there. I don't know about a lot, but there is definitely some internal struggles, some growth, some development, and some interesting character quirks. So even though they weren't necessarily for me, I don't think that they're not for everyone. I think that they were established pretty well. But now we're going to kind of move on into the side characters who I mentioned. Baron is Lila's kind of, friend and guardian. He's the owner of the tavern that's found in every single London, so it's kind of become a spot that Kel can really orient himself, and it's kind of like a hub for magic. So it's definitely a pivotal part of the novel in, all of the Londons, but especially in Grey London. So Baron is the owner of this tavern. He is very loyal to Lila. He's definitely kind of got a bit of a rough exterior, but he's one of those like kind of gentle giants where he's kind of fatherly and protective to Lila, and I really liked his character. I thought that while again he wasn't like the most original, I've definitely seen characters like that before, I did really get a sense of his person though, and I thought that it was really well executed. I believed his character, and I was absolutely devastated when he died. I definitely got my heart ripped out because I genuinely really liked his character and his relationship with Lila. So next we're going to talk about the villains, and those are the Dane siblings. I think that they honestly were pretty interesting villains. I thought that they had an interesting dynamic with each other. I thought that they had some interesting tendencies as far as the magic that they used. Again, they're dynamic and they're kind of cannibalistic tendencies, and I believed it because the world building was so strong. They built up this broken, twisted place, and so it only became logical that the rulers of this place, by the way, they're the rulers of White London, but yeah, the only logical response was that the rulers of such a place would be just as broken, dark, and twisted. Which, again, like, I thought that that was very well executed. I did enjoy them as villains. I thought that they were genuinely scary at times, and they were very smart villains, which I appreciate because I hate seeing villains that are just malicious and evil for the sake of being evil and not even that good at it. So they are evil, but it makes sense in the world, and again, they're smart, they're interesting, and I like them. So that leads me to Holland. He is basically the other Antari in this book besides Kell. He's much more powerful than Kell is, but he's basically been enslaved by the Dane twins and has to do their bidding. I think that his character is honestly the most fascinating and well done because it's so subtle. He's kind of a sympathetic villain because you can tell that he wouldn't do a lot of the things that the Dane twins make him do, but at the same time, he's not really a great guy, and you get that sense. I don't know, his character is just treated very, very well. It's very subtle in all of his interactions. I'm fascinated by him. I think that he's a really interesting character. I think that the interactions that he has with Kell, especially because he's another Antari, you can tell that Kell is very conflicted about things, but Holland is a little bit more mature. He has a clearer view of the world. Again, he's just very well done. His character building and interaction is very subtle, and I really appreciated that. And I think that's why I gravitated towards him so much as opposed to some of the other characters. So lastly, we're going to talk about Prince Rai, who is Kell's adoptive brother. Prince Rai is basically, he's kind of like Cassius from Red Rising, but like a dollar store version of Cassius. I'm sorry, please don't come at me, but I am a huge Cassius fan. Cassius is my boy. And Rai felt kind of similar, but just worse. Okay, though, actually, I enjoyed Rai's character. I thought that he was interesting. He wasn't super developed in this book, but what we did see of him I thought was well done. He definitely likes to be the center of attention, but he also struggles with some things. He's not a great magician, so he knows that his power has to come from his charm and the way that the people view him. Definitely his focus is on perception of himself, which I find really interesting. I thought that that was well done, and I really like the dynamic between Kell and Rai, and I think it definitely helped make Kell a little bit more relatable and helped us get to know Kell a little bit better, so I definitely appreciated those elements to it. But again, I just don't think that we really got to know Rai much in this book. Alright guys, so that is it. Those are my thoughts on this novel. I enjoyed it, I didn't love it, but I thought that there were some really amazing aspects to it. I did enjoy the writing style, I just couldn't love it without really loving the characters, and that's what I struggled with. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. But there's 5 days of this, so please enjoy. You get to see my face a lot for the next little bit. I hope you liked this. I hope you like the upcoming reviews. I'm very excited to review all of these things. If you did like this review, even though it was shorter than usual, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, and goodbye.